time. One more time. Just like the air is plentiful, flowers that bloom in multiples, grains of sand uncountable. I am enough. Just like the clouds so beautiful, like the earth, billions of people, stars in the sky innumerable. I know I am enough, and we sing I am. I am enough. Oh, I am enough. Just as I am. Just as I am. I am enough. I am enough. Raise your fist up high and say, oh, I am enough. Just as I am. Just as I am. I am enough. Oh, just like the air is plentiful, flowers that bloom in multiples, the grains of sand, I can't count them all, but I know and I look at the clouds, they're so beautiful, like the earth, billions and billions of people, stars in the sky, innumerable. I know I am enough, and we sing I am. I am enough. Oh, we are just as I am. Just as I am. I am enough. Just as I am. Just as I am. I am enough. Oh, I am power. I am power. And I am peace. I am peace. I am love. I am love. Eternally. Eternally. And I am whole. I am whole. And complete. Oh, that's who I am. That's who I am. That's who I be. And we sing I am enough. I am enough. Yeah. Just as I am. Just as I am. I am Hey, everybody. Happy Sunday.
Happy
It
Sunday.
is good to see you.
Good
It is good to be here with
morning.
you. And we're going to get right into it because we have a packed time scheduled for us today. So we will get started as we always do with prayer. And our prayer champion, Lavonda Elam, will lead us in prayer.
Yes, yes.
Gracious love, this Sunday Celebration Spiritual Center. It's always good to be with you. Let us turn inward as we steady our spirits and anchor in words of truth. As we steady our spirits and anchor in the experience of infinite wholeness that surrounds us. Anchoring in the one mind, the one presence, the one power that I call absolute law. Love that is actively working in my favor. Law that is unconditional loving. Law that is pure perfection. Law that is the essence of freedom, the essence of peace. Law which is divine intelligence that is unchanging, limitless, and forever yielding in its operation in and as my life. Infinite Spirit of the Most High, I come today in sweet gratitude for this knowing, for this loving law that abides within, that governs and rules the way that I move, knowing that its breath is my breath, knowing that its mind is my mind, knowing that its soul is expressed as my soul, and that this soul love, this guiding, ordering our direction, is replicated and named as each individualized expression joined here today. Oh, Mother, Father, God, wherever there may be a doubt about this, wherever there may be places where we have forgotten who we are, I'm so grateful to be here today to be reminded that as above, so below. That as genius is, genius does. That as goodness is, goodness does. And that this sweet love rising is all up in us. It's all up on us. It is everywhere we are. And it stays put. So, Infinite Spirit, as you are right here, right now, I trust and know that we are exactly where we're supposed to be in this divinely appointed time. As we come together to join in, to listen, and to celebrate in the gift of the word, I know that our minds are newly enticed and actively engaged today. I know that our spirits are wholly enriched, and I know that our love spaces are expanded. I affirm and know, Mother, Father, God, that our beloved pastors are gracious vessels of divine overstanding and understanding for the word to flow easily through them. I am knowing that today's sermon is marked in love and by love, and that today's takeaway is exactly what somebody needs this day. I affirm this and more as I stand affixed on this truth, as I give thanks for this knowing, as I give thanks for the miracle that the day already is, as I give thanks for the ways that we commune in solidarity, the ways in which we continue to grow our love, and the ways that we say yes to the healing of our minds. I say thank you for the experience that is already known and manifested as good. I see it done, and I await. So with great confidence, I release this prayer back to the law of generous reciprocity as I gratefully say, Amen, Ashe, and so it is.
Amen. Ashe, and so it is.
So it is. Thank you, Lavonda. Yes.
Yes. Powerful. Powerful. So, of course, we like to start with announcements. But before we get into the announcements, I want to say hello and welcome to anyone who is joining us for the first time. We know that we have folks connecting in from all around the country and all around the world. Shout out, we see someone is connecting with us this morning from Nevada. If you are a first-time guest, if this is your first time ever watching or connecting and streaming with us, we want to hear from you, and we would love to stay in touch with you. You can text the word welcome to the number that you see on the screen, 347-472-1078. Just text the word welcome. No signature, no hello, no emojis, just the word welcome. And you'll receive a prompt back that will ask you for your information that we can add you to our mailing list. So with that, we're going to get into some of our announcements, and you'll know why you want to be on our mailing list, because there's so many wonderful things going on.
Yes, yes.
So the first thing is we want to just give you a very brief update on what's going on with CSC as it's related to COVID-19. We had a meeting this past week with Restoration Plaza because officially Restoration Plaza cannot and is not allowing any tenants in the building to continue whatever activities, as in our case, church services. And we met with them because we have a series of questions that need to be answered so that we can understand what the building's protocols are, so then that we can accurately and adequately generate our own protocols. And so what we learned is there's actually a meeting that's going to be taking place at Restoration this coming Tuesday amongst their staff to finalize what their protocols are. We've sent over our questions and information that we have, so that can be included. There were some things that we asked about that they weren't aware of, and so it was good to have that conversation. So we're beginning that dialogue. This does not mean that we're anywhere near having in-person services, and we're going to take everything into consideration once we hear back from them. Now, with that said, one of the things that we want to give you all a heads up about is we will be creating and sending out a survey, because what we need to hear from you is your comfort level with coming back. What things are you willing to do, not willing to do, and also specifically for all of our volunteers. That encompasses everyone in guest services, Soul 21.
Band.
What is your comfort level in terms of serving? Because there's kind of two pieces here, that one, we have to have the congregation has to be comfortable enough to attend, but also we actually in some cases may even need more volunteers as we consider all of the things that will need to be done to prepare on a weekly basis. Set up and breakdown, cleaning. There's a lot more protocols that will be in place, and so we need to ensure that we have volunteers that are able, capable, and comfortable. And so the two things go hand in hand. So keep your eyes and ears open. We'll be talking more about it in the coming weeks, but we wanted to give you a heads up. One, that things are happening, but more importantly, to look for that survey, because that's information that we need in order to be able to make decisions.
Absolutely. And as you can tell, just by the things that we're sharing, we have been deliberate in our consideration and thinking about our regathering plan. We are not going to move forward with that until we are satisfied that everyone can be safe and enjoy service in person.
Right.
That's so important. And so when the survey does go out, please be honest about how you feel about regathering at this time.
Right. And to be clear, as I see someone's comment about, going to service and not being able to hug, that's the thing, right? If and when we open, it's not going to be a normal service in that sense, right? So if we love to hug, those are things we do. Hugging is not going to happen anymore, for a good while, and so that's something to think about. Maybe we shouldn't do that, right? So we'll field all of that information, and I think it's important, as PY said, to just be really honest and really think about it, because it's going to kind of be a strict protocol when we think about what has to happen. We've learned a lot from our colleagues in terms of churches that have opened and had to close. And churches that have opened successfully with some very stringent protocols.
Yes. So keep your eyes out for that. That'll be coming soon. But we did want to update you. As we always do, you know how we do. We plan and we execute with excellence.
Yes. So the next thing we want you to know about, we showed the video last week. We may show a video again in a couple weeks, but the census is happening. God counts us all, but we want to make sure that our government is counting us as well, because we recognize that this is related to so many different services. It's related to the redistricting for Congress, for our representatives, and so many other things. And unfortunately, the deadline was moved up, even though it really should be extended. Because of COVID-19, it was moved up. And so there's a possibility of potentially losing services. As I shared last week, as of a week ago on Wednesday, only 54% of New Yorkers had actually completed the census at that time. And so that could pose critical issues for our city and importantly for our most vulnerable in the city. So we want to make sure that everyone is completing the census. And if you want to know how do you access the census, it's very easy. It's very simple. I promise you, it only takes about 5 minutes. Just go to my2020census.gov. You could also call if for some reason you don't have adequate internet access. But if you're watching this now, you obviously do. So you can use this link and complete the process very easily and effortlessly. It's so incredibly important, and that's why we're talking about it every week, because it's just as we'll talk about voting in the coming weeks as well, just as important as that is and what's going on with voting right now. This is equally as important.
And it's interesting that our screen is frozen. It's kind of a way for us to make sure you pay attention energetically. We will check that out and see what's going on with the internet. And just remember that this census only takes place every 10 years. Every 10 years that we get to impact and influence our representation, programs, and offerings. And so please, it only takes a few minutes to fill it out. So please make sure that you do. And if you have any questions about, for example, that you're not in New York, then check with your local or your state agencies in terms of going on to my2020census.gov, pointing you towards local census takers, and on. The resources are there at your disposal, okay?
All right, beautiful. You should be able to see us now. We're moving. All good. And so today is the third Sunday. Because
Yes,
it's
it
the
is.
third Sunday, that means it's God Talk Sunday. This is your opportunity to ask questions. There are things that are showing up in your life, and it's like, how do I use spiritual law and principle? How do I use metaphysics for the real deal of what's going on? I just experienced a breakup. I just got a diagnosis that has me worried, right? Whatever it may be, these principles work for real life, right? Practical spirituality. This is not just some woo-woo, and it's not just for manifesting houses, cars,
Yep.
and other material objects. That's actually tertiary. I won't even say it's secondary, right? It's way down the line. And so we use these principles because they lead to peace of mind, they lead to an experience, an expression of love, and they lead to an experience and expression of power, true power. And so we want to support you in doing that. So if you would like to attend the God Talk, we hold that on Zoom because it's a private forum, it's a private session. So you need to be on our mailing list. An email goes out every Friday, so the information is in our Friday email. If you're on our mailing list, an email also went out this morning, additionally, with that information. For those of you who are our first-time guests, and you're hearing about this, and you're like, wow, I'd love to attend, if you text the word welcome to this phone number here on your screen, after you enter your information, then you will actually also get an email with the password, the Zoom link and the password, so that you can join us for the God Talk. And we look forward to that because it's always a good time.
Always.
No question is off limits. And questions come from all sorts of places. Right?
And remember that you have to be in the room to ask the question, to hear it, to get it answered. And maybe there's a question that you're not ready to ask, but someone else asks it for you. That happens a lot of the time. So please join us today at 1 o'clock.
Yes, yes. Now, we recognize that many people have prayer requests, and you may want to have prayer for yourself or for a family member or a loved one. And so you can send that prayer request easily and effortlessly to prayer champions at celebrationsc.org. We will hold and know the truth with you, and all will be absolutely well. All will be absolutely good. Additionally, we hold prayer every Wednesday morning at 7 a.m., the Momentum Prayer Call. And at 7 a.m., I lead that call, begin that call by sharing that day's reading from the Daily Word. And then our prayer champion for the week leads us in prayer. So the information is here. You see the phone number on your screen. You see the access code. Also, you see the URL if you would like to connect via the web. There's also a playback number. And we offer the playback number because the prayer is recorded every Wednesday. And so that means that you can tap into and check in on that prayer at any time, any day, 24/7. It will play the most recent prayer. All you have to do is just dial that number and wait. It will ask for some code. I still don't know why it asks for a code because you don't need it. Just wait on the line and the prayer will start to play. And it has continued to be an awesome resource because I look at the reports. People call in every day at all different times of day to tap into that vibration. It's a beautiful, beautiful gift.
And there's no limit on the number of times you can call into that number. Call in, make it part of your spiritual practice, using that as part of your daily prayer and affirmation of truth.
Yeah, absolutely.
Use it in whatever way feels best for you.
Yes, yes. So as many of you know, our series this month is based on this book, The Sun Does Shine by Anthony Ray Hinton. And so we have a bunch of different resources that we've put together related to this and an event that we're going to be doing at the end of the month, which I think is really awesome. So I just want to share this information with you. The first thing is, what is the reading guide? Because each week, there's a bunch of chapters, but you don't need to read the whole book every week. So for instance, this week, Pastor Yolanda's sermon will be based on chapters 5 through 8, which was last week's reading. So this week's reading will be chapters 9 through 12. And here you have the rest of the breakdown, 13 through 16, 17 through 20, and 21 through 24. So you can take the bite-sized chunks. Now, this reading guide, if you don't want to come back to this video and scroll and find where what chapters I should be reading this week, well, that's why you want to join our discussion group that we've created. Now, one of the things that we're doing an After the Sermon Books series discussion on August 30th, where we're going to be using questions from Oprah's book club and some thoughts and ideas that we have that we want to lead a discussion to talk about this book because there's so much. talking about the spiritual aspects and gleaning spiritual wisdom, but we also want to talk about the social justice
All
aspects.
right, we can't
and-
ignore the two go together in this one.
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. And so you have to join the book series group in order to get that information, the Zoom link and the password. So how do you join that group, and how do you get those other resources? You go to this website, celebrationsc.churchcenter.com. When you go to that, wait, you can't see it. There you go. Churchcenter.com. When you go to that URL, you'll see this page, and you want to click the option for groups. Once you click the option for groups, then you will see the Sun Does Shine group. Just click join, and you enter your information. It's really easy and effortless to join. We see that people are still joining throughout the week. And one of the beautiful things in that group, there's a resources section. There's links to videos. I was talking to Pastor Yolanda about the video we just added on Friday, which is really powerful, of a talk that Anthony Ray Hinton gave with the Equal Justice Initiative. There's a TED Talk from Brian Stevenson talking about this awful criminal justice system that we're experiencing here in the United States. There's the Super Soul Conversation with Oprah and Anthony Ray Hinton. There's also that weekly reading guide. You can download that, so you have that with you. And there's also links to the questions that we're going to be using and looking at on the 30th.
And chapter summaries. There's a lot of good content that we will be updating as we move throughout this series for the next 2 months. And this book group is specifically for this book. You're not joining some other mass list. You're
Nope.
just getting access to the material and the Zoom conversations that we'll be having.
Right.
Because we feel that this book is so important that it's not just a sermon series. There has to be discussion. There has to be an opportunity and an environment and a forum to share your thoughts and feelings about it. And we would be remiss in our duties as pastors to not do both.
Right.
And so joining the group gives you access to all of that, and that only.
All right, beautiful. So with that, it is time to go within and meditate.
It
and
is
PY
time.
will lead us in that beautiful, beautiful journey.
Well, we have come to the time where we let go of the external and tap into the internal, where we take time to not just think about ideas, but to feel the loving presence of God within us now, as I like to say. Because we can have all the information, have read all the New Thought texts that ever existed. There's always others being discovered, and you can be on this seeking path forever. But until you begin to realize and experience God for yourself, you will always be learning, obtaining, and seeking for what is already there, seeking for the peace that we're talking about this month in our meditation, but never experiencing the peace. Peace is not some abstract concept. It is something that you can feel alive within you. And so let us take this time now to become quiet, to find a comfortable seat, wherever that is, on your sofa, your chair, your bed, wherever you are, and just settle into that seat right now. And as you settle, go ahead and close the eyes. Both the settling of the seat in comfort and the closing of the eyes signal the body that it's time to relax. Signal the body that it's time to pay attention inward now. Signal the body to pay attention to the breath now. So notice the breath right where it is. Whether shallow by your judgment or deep and full and wide and expansive, just notice. Notice on the inhale, you're drawing in more breath and more relaxation. And notice on the exhale, the warmth of the breath as it leaves the body, and relaxes the body. A few more rounds of just noticing, because awareness is important. Awareness signals presence. And now we bring our minds more consciously to controlling this inhale and exhalation cycle. In a loving way, we bring our focus to the low belly. And together, inhale through the low belly. Inhale. Hold it there. Open the mouth and release the breath. Inhale again through the low belly, filling up the low belly, the lungs, expanding the front and the sides and the back. Hold it there. Feeling a depth to the lungs that we've never felt before, sending them lower into the belly. Now open the mouth and release. Moving the energy and the breath in through and up through the rib cage now. Inhale. Expanding the ribs, making more room. Expanding the front and the back. Activating the physical and the subtle body. Hold it there. Open the mouth and let it all go. Again, inhale through the low belly, up through the rib cage, expanding. Nothing to hold here, just expand and open. Hold on. There. Expanded. And release. Now moving that breath in and all the way up through the heart, center of the chest, the heart chakra, activating it. Full breath in, through, and up to the heart. Hold it there. Open the mouth and let it all go. Again, inhale all the way in and up through the heart, expanding across the chest, creating a new set point, new reality. Shoulders relaxing down the back, just opening, allowing, feeling. Now release through an open, full breath. This time, inhale all the way in and up through the heart. Hold it there. Close the lips. Exhale through the nose, nice and slow. Notice the shoulders relax. Notice maybe the hips even relax. Everything begins to respond to the breath. Take a few rounds of inhale and exhale through the nose, as this will be our form of breath for the remainder of our meditation. Allow the easy cycle now. Each inhale signals more relaxation, drawing it in. Each exhale makes room in the body and the mind for more. Last time. Beautiful. As we put our focus and attention on the body, letting the breath do what it is designed to do, we send our focus into the feet. The breath follows. Relax the feet. Maybe you spread the toes a little and gently relax them to the earth beneath you. And symbolically connecting to the power within the Earth's core and beyond. This energy cannot be contained. It is now moving up the ankles. Relax the ankles. Energy flows and breath flows across the shins, the calves. Relax both the shins and the calves. Unobstructed energy flows across the knees. Relax, bending to that deeper part of ourselves. Relax the knees. Sending the breath now across the thighs, the hamstrings, settling in the hips, relaxing both, and relaxing the glutes now. And as this energy gathers in the base of our spine, we see in our mind the subtle body, the energetic fields being open and activated as energy travels up, up, up our spine and out our crown of the head. As the Kundalini rises, as the opening and the relaxation signal each chakra to open, to align, to balance. We allow the energy that has gathered above us all collectively to now flow back down through the crown, crossing the third eye, opening and balancing the throat, across the shoulders as if warm hands signal the shoulders to relax. Energy flows down the arms and out the fingertips. And you may choose to turn the palms down to ground or up to receive more. Either hand position, bring your focus and your attention back to the heart. As our body is relaxed and opened, focus in on the energy that is created by the heart. Feel that green healing light shining now, sending rays throughout the body and filling each cell with the peace of God. Trillions of cells responding, opening, allowing peace to be at the center. And in your mind, affirm, the peace of God is shining in me now. The peace of God is shining in me now. Every cell responds and echoes. The peace of God is shining in me now. Breathing that in, feeling that in your body. If the palms are turned up, you can turn them back down to ground more or leave them as an open receptacle for more peace and light. We prepare now to go into our silent time. And if the mind wanders, it's okay. Bring it back when you are aware to this truth that the peace of God is shining in you now. We allow it to shine, uninterrupted, easy, effortless, now. Eyes still closed. Take the mental picture. Record the vibration and feeling of the peace of God shining in every cell within you now. And remember that this week as you move forward, anything that would challenge that peace, we bring our minds back to the sensation, the time that we gave ourselves. And we affirm the peace of God is shining, not just then, but now. Feel that completely. Remember that fully. Start to bring yourself back slowly now. Maybe you wiggle the fingers and the toes, or maybe you rest the palms on the tops of the thighs and gently wake the thighs and the knees. Maybe you draw the shoulders up by the ears and slowly relax them down. But bring the palms together at heart center. Lightly touching the thumbs into the sternum, that place that we activated of power and healing and love. Now bow the chin to the fingertips, noticing a slight opening at the base of the neck and throughout the spine. Feeling the breath flowing across the fingers, reminding us of this now moment. And then slowly, lovingly, easily, fluttering the eyes open, taking in a point on the floor in front of you, allowing a nice soft gaze. Now inhale, raise the chin, raise the gaze. Namaste.
Namaste. All right. Thank you, PY.
You're welcome.
So before we get into the message for today, we're going to hear from Soul 21.
Yes.
And we're going to go in the archives into the time machine to Easter Sunday, 2019. I found so much joy watching this because it was The first time I ever watched this was a couple days ago, and I pray that it meets you right where you are. Let's check in with Soul 21.
And so the Jesus story, just as the story of the seasons, they mirror each other perfectly. They're showing us something about our lives. You may feel like all is lost in your life. You may feel like giving up. You may feel like just throwing in the towel. But at the end of the story, you win. Hear the words. Hear this truth. Hear this truth.
But you can't give up now.
That's how it ends. That's how it ends. I want to make sure I hear what I'm saying. Yes! I'm giving you the end. You may be in the middle right now. I'm telling you how it's going to end. So you can celebrate. So you can get excited right now about how it's going to end. That's how it ends. You will win.
Woo! Got me up here rocking back and forth, wanting to moan, wanting to run around the room. After all the sleepless nights, after all the tears you cried, after all these months in pandemic, you will win. You're gonna win. Oh, thank you so much, Soul 21, for that trip down memory lane and for that affirmation of the truth. You're gonna win. The book has been written. You just need to turn the page. You're going to win. Oh, Whew, we are reading, studying, absorbing, feeling this book, The Sun Does Shine. A memoir of a black man named Anthony Ray Hinton, who spent 30 years on death row for a crime he did not commit. It's interesting because last summer, PG and I were planning to do this very book this summer, but we had no idea how applicable it would be to 2020. And so, last week, PG started us off with chapters 1 through 4, in which we get introduced to Anthony Ray Hinton, his life in Alabama, his relationship with his mother, his relationship with his friend Lester. And more importantly, we get introduced to the man and his character. And PG asked, well, what does it take to live in love and forgiveness in this type of injustice? But more importantly, what must we become when we are confronted with these twin pandemics? Who are we going to be? What do we have to become? Well, he said we have to become possibilians. And Anthony Ray Hinton is teaching us all about hope and faith and ultimately the power of love to transcend any conditions, any circumstances. That was last week, and if you're new and you're joining us, please go back and view last week's message, but we're going forward because there's a lot to cover. This week we're going to be, as PG said, we're going to be looking at chapters 5 through 8. And I have to tell y'all, I kept reading and rereading chapter 5 through 8, looking for the morsels, looking for the inspiration, looking for the insight, looking for the love. And all I found, if I'm honest, was anger. Anybody else feel that? The more I read, the more I got mad. I got mad because I saw this injustice and this racism and this oppression just leaping off the page at me. For example, Lieutenant Aker, 5 reasons you'll be convicted. Number 1, you're a black man. Number 2, a white man gonna say you did it. Number 3, you're gonna have a white district attorney. Number 4, you're going to have a white judge. And number 5, you're going to have an all-white jury. And you know what that spells from his perspective? Conviction, 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 conviction. And I read that and I got angry. And the more I read, the more I saw being trained to respect authority, being trained to tell the truth, what that got him. It wasn't the respect of the police, The truth can't set you free if it's being viewed through a racist lens. And I got angry at that court-appointed attorney, his ego, his incompetence, his greed. As I saw Anthony Ray Hinton in my mind and read his words, would it make a difference if I told you that I was innocent? And his reply, y'all, code for black and brown people, y'all always doing something and saying you're innocent. His inability to see this man, hear his case, advocate on his behalf. I was enraged, and it didn't stop. When I got to that polygraph test that proved his innocence, and the examiner that said, if I could walk you out of here today because you are innocent, I would do it. Rage, anger. And then lack of evidence, y'all. Let's talk about lack of evidence. No fingerprints, no DNA, no witnesses, and the gun did not match. It couldn't match because it hadn't been fired in 30 years. It wasn't even a match. And as I sat with that anger and hurt and pain, seeing myself in this story that unfolds like a novel but is a real man's story, I kind of said to myself, maybe this ain't the week I'm supposed to preach. Maybe this ain't the week, because I'm feeling this. I'm seeing myself in this man's story. I'm seeing all the times that I've had to advocate on my own behalf. On and on and on it goes. I get angrier and angrier and angrier and angrier. And I'm just being honest with y'all. And I took a breath, though. And I remembered the words of scripture that said, in all of your getting, get understanding. And so in all of my getting angry, I was not getting understanding. I needed to invite love in. I needed to invite the presence of God in. I needed to align and allow this emotion to move through me in a way, calling forth what I knew to be true, calling forth truth principles. I am determined to see, as A Course in Miracles says, I am determined to see this differently. Above all else, I want to see this differently. And as I asked and said those words to myself in the middle of my anger, there was an opening. There was an opening. And I heard these words instead. You know how this ends. He wins. He wins. Chapter 1 through 8 is not the end of the story. He wins. And more importantly, what I began to realize and bring myself to is that this is the hero's journey. It is a real life example of the hero's journey that Joseph Campbell talked about and described so beautifully for us. Every hero faces overcoming obstacles to win something, and in this case, his freedom. And if you look back at chapters 1 through 4, you will see how we are progressing through this hero's journey. So easily, so effortlessly, so beautifully. Think about it. In chapters 1 through 4, ordinary life, stage 1, ordinary world, just like me and you, living out his life, cutting his mother's grass. Stage 2, call to adventure. And the adventure begins when he receives the call to action. Now, for some of us, the adventure might be, oh, I'm starting a new business, or, oh, I'm in a new relationship. Or it could be that the adventure is unwanted, unwelcomed, not even considered. And could there be any bigger adventure or call than to be arrested for crimes you did not commit? So that's 1 through 4. Those first stages, check those off. But where are we now in chapters 5 through 8? Everything that I just said, all the anger, all the rage, all the things that happened in these 4 chapters, it's all about stage 3, the refusal of the call. The hero is not always ready and eager to accept this adventure. As I said, sometimes it's unwanted. He's not always, or she's not always ready, armed with the tools to move through a pandemic, armed with the tools to move through job loss, whatever it may be. They've come face to face with their fear that they have to release the fear that is binding them. They come face to face with self-doubt, with second-guessing themselves, but ultimately they have to rise to this challenge. And given Mr. Hinton's situation, given what we've learned in 8 chapters only, there's so much more to go. It would make sense that he would refuse the call, or what I call hail to the gnaw. That's what this stage is. It's hail to the gnaw. No, I'm not going. No, I don't want to go there. No, I cannot do this. And that stage calls you to want to hold on to something. Not hold on in the way to this deep faith, this deep understanding. It's wanting to hold on to our old life. Makes complete sense. It engages us in some old, familiar, normal behaviors. One of those, denial. This can't be happening. He kept saying that over in his mind. And as he was talking to Oprah, he said, I couldn't believe it was happening to me. I didn't understand why it was happening to me. So denial is always present as we're in this stage of the refusal of the call. Then there's this journey and yearning for the normal. Yearning for the normal. He said, I wanted to cut my mother's grass. I wanted to sit outside at sunset with her. I wanted to take her fishing. I wanted to drink sweet tea and eat grits and that peach cobbler. I wanted it all. I wanted to talk to my friend Lester. I wanted to touch and feel the touch and the smell of a woman. Any of those things that we've taken for granted in our lives, we yearn for those in this stage. As he said, for rain, for hot showers, for clean clothes, all of those things bring this story so home to us. And the other thing, the behavior we engage in is thinking about the dream deferred, what we are going to lose because of this. And if you're like me, you've thought about all of this. You've thought about, oh no, this can't be happening. This pandemic, racism flaring up this way. I just want to go back to the way it was, but we cannot go back. Something has to be let go of. And in the beginning of this refusal to the call, it feels like we're losing. It feels like we're losing everything. He says it was like every good was being taken away from me, one chunk at a time. Belief, family, truth, faith, justice. And he said, I wondered who I would be when this was over. How could I be the same person? How could I be the same person? When we face uncertainty, we want to go back to the way it was, to what felt comfortable and familiar, but the hero's journey is calling us forward. We may become sad and depressed and on the emotion goes. And when he got that guilty verdict, he said, everything that I believed in and was taught to me as a child left me. It was all stacked up against me. And I don't know about you, but as I read his words, I could see him there, especially after the guilty verdict, and they moved him without even so much as a goodbye to his mother and his friend Lester, to death row. I see him in that cell as he says these words. I sat down on the edge of the bed. I looked in the bag of stuff that I had. I pulled out the King James Bible. There was no God for me anymore. My God had forsaken me. My God was punishing me. My God had failed and left me to die. I had no use for God. Forgive me, Mama. I thought to myself as I threw the Bible under the bed, had no use for it. All of it was a lie. Everything was being taken from him. And he sat there in anger that he had never felt or experienced before, contrary to his character, loneliness, sadness, weariness. And as I saw him in my mind, there, and as I felt how it must feel to be in that situation, I heard these words. If you feel insignificant, you better think again. Better wake up, because you're part of something way bigger. Not just a speck in the universe, not just some words in a Bible verse. You are the living word. You're part of something way bigger. Bigger than you, bigger than we, bigger than the picture they framed us to see. But now we see it, and it ain't no secret. Yes. Bigger. As he sat there, not knowing, there was something, a conversation of life happening with him that in that moment he couldn't hear. In that moment he was refusing this call forward. That's the title of my message today. Bigger. Bigger than you, bigger than we, bigger than the picture that this current reality is framing for us to see. We are bigger. And so today we're going to let Mr. Hinton's amazing story, A Course in Miracles, and lyrics from the Beyonce hymnal help us examine what it feels like to surrender in this place of this call and instruct us on how to become bigger. 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 A Course in Miracles puts it this way. As we try to give up or let go of this old idea, as we try to refuse to answer this call, something else is really happening at that moment. Something else is happening. It says this: the Holy Spirit calls you both to remember and forget. This process, this refusal, this opening is calling us to both remember and forget. It says this: the only way learning is possible is to do this. Learning is impossible without memory, since it must be consistent to be remembered. That is why the Holy Spirit teaches its lessons on remembering. I said before that he teaches remembering and forgetting, but the forgetting is only to make the remembering consistent. We have to forget all of what we were to step into the bigger. We're forgetting so that we can remember something profound about ourselves in the middle of our situations. You forget in order to remember better, A Course in Miracles says. And what is it we're trying to forget to remember, or remember to forget? That we just don't know it yet, Beyonce goes on to say. No matter how hard it gets, you got my blood, you got this ancestral, you got God, you got power and light in you, and you're going to rise, you're going to win because you're bigger. This song is brilliant, y'all. You know that. Lyrically, melodically, brilliant. But there's something else about it that it points to. If you really look at this song, it's amazing. Think about it as a songwriter and as a producer. The placement of the song in this musical retelling of The Lion King is brilliant. She could have put the song in the middle, like rah, rah, keep going. She could have put it at the end, talking about, oh, look how victorious you are. She put it at the beginning as a symbol, as a sign, as something to carry with you on the journey. You're bigger.
Yes. Yes.
Bigger. Bigger. That's what this song is representing. That's what these lyrics are reminding us. That's what it's helping us to remember so that we can forget the old way, the old self, the old sense of normal, the old things that we've denied that no longer serve us. Bigger, everybody, bigger. Bigger for you, bigger for me. And there's 3 ways that we must remember and forget at the same time that we're bigger. First, we got to remember that we're bigger than other people's opinions. Second, we got to remember that we're even bigger than our self-concept. And third, we have to remember that we are bigger than our old God concept. Let's look at those. Bigger than other people's opinions. Now, that might cause you to be like, yes, I have haters, and yes, I'm bigger and better than those. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about here, thinking about how the world is created and fueled by othering, by an other, a policy, a procedure. Thinking about how the world is fueled by opinions grounded in misogyny, xenophobia, homophobia, racism. Those are the others that are grounding us in other people's opinions, that are dictating how we live our lives. And we got to realize that we're bigger than even those. I'll think about myself, for example. You know, as I was reading, I said I got angrier and angrier and angrier and angrier and angrier. And anger is not something that I allow myself to express very often, and never in public. Why? Because its roots in a perception, in a bias, in a belief, in a stereotype about Black women. Take that in. Black women are either considered hypersexualized and a possession, or angry and mad to be destroyed or contained. And I decided that I was bigger than other people's opinions about me in that moment. And that it was important that I share how I really felt emotionally in that moment, and to put an end to how stereotypes play out in my personal life, that I'm bigger than other people's opinions, that I'm bigger than their stereotypes. Because that othering, that other people's opinion leads to nothing but othering, leads to separation, leads to fear, leads to the desire to control, leads to putting me in my place, as opposed to letting my power come forward however it chooses to manifest in that moment. I'm bigger. Think about your life and the opinions of the others in your life. Are you ready to be bigger than those opinions? But in order to be bigger than those opinions, you got to do something that A Course in Miracles is asking you to do, taking up this mantle of letting go of this, other people's opinions, deciding to forget some things. A Course in Miracles says that love is accompanying us on this journey. It's seeking to undo something that is psychologically called the proactive inhibition. Write that down, proactive inhibition. That's what's going on in our minds when we accept others' opinions. Proactive inhibition is taking on an older learning which inhibits your ability to recall, to accept new learning. And the Holy Spirit is teaching us to forget what the ego says about you, the ego of others. Forget what it has taught you, so that you are no longer inhibited by these opinions. Bigger. Bigger than you, bigger than we, bigger than the picture they framed for us, the way they've set us up in society, the way they decided how much we succeed, the way they decided our age matters, the way they've decided our credit matters, the way they've set us up in this frame. But now we see it. We see how these opinions play out. We see how they play out in our lives, and it ain't no secret. We're letting go of other people's opinions. Number 2. How else are we remembering to forget we're bigger than our self-concept? Bigger than our self-concept. You see, we all have this personal narrative. We've been conditioned partly by number one, but also informed by our beliefs about life, our lived experiences, the trauma that we've experienced, and even our desires. All of that comes together to create our sense of self, lowercase s. I love how Eckhart Tolle talks about, yes, there is life moving. Life is calling you forward. Life is good and only good. It's calling you forward. But your life circumstances make you think that you have to stay back, have to recoil, have to stop, have to refuse the call. Life situations are not life. They are experiences within this thing we call life. And they are not the determining factor, nor are other people's opinions, nor are your small ideas and considerations and narrative about yourself. You're bigger than your self-concept with a small s. And why is that? I hear people all the time, you got to accept me as I am. Do you know who you are? Do we know who we are? The lyrics of the song are calling us forward. Our experiences are calling us forward. Mr. Hinton's experience was what calling him forward. He wasn't what they thought he was. He even wasn't what he thought he was, conditioned by that mind. Not until we embark on this journey or come face to face with our beliefs about ourselves, come face to face with life, the challenges, the illnesses, the circumstances, and shed those old narratives, we will never discover the truth of this capital S self, this capital S self that is eternal, this capital S self that is always connected to infinite intelligence, this capital S self that is never alone, this capital S self that transcends any conditions, this capital S self that we have to understand the truth about. We have to let go of the narrative that we've written. And Beyonce agrees with me. Understand the truth about the question in your soul. Bigger. Look up, don't look down. Then watch the answers unfold. Look within. Look to this higher consciousness. Life is your birthright. Life. Not your life situation. Life is your birthright. They hid that in the fine print. Take a pen and rewrite it, everybody. Bigger. Examine that narrative that you have operating, your self-concept. And if it no longer serves you, if it's not big enough to occupy this life that we are living, then rewrite it. Rewrite it. I don't know about y'all, but it's getting hot in here. And the truth always heats me up. Because there's something going on when we look at our self-concept. I like to call it psycho-spiritual dissonance. Psycho-spiritual dissonance. There's this discomfort that we feel when we're in the middle of a challenge. Something is calling us forward, but our ego, our limitedness, our small sense of self is saying, no, you can't do that. You're not ready. Or no, this is too big. This is too much. So there's this dissonance. There's this discomfort between who you really are and what you thought you were. That we got to step up our estimate, as she says. Step in your excellence. Know that you're excellent. Rise. The Spirit is teaching. Holy Spirit, love is teaching you what you really are. And I ain't just preaching, she says. I'm taking my own advice. I'm with you, Beyonce. I'm taking my own advice. I'm not just preaching to y'all today. I'm thinking about my own life. I'm thinking about the conditions that are unfolding for me right now as we all sit in the uncertainty of this experience, as we all sit in the pandemics, the twin pandemics, as PG said, and how it feels and the discomfort. But there's something calling me beyond my discomfort, my real self, which is bigger. Y'all, let me check my time because I can get wound up. One more thing here in terms of the three things that we have to do to become bigger, what we have to let go of, what we have to surrender. I go back to that paragraph of him sitting on the edge of that bed where he thinks God has abandoned him, where he thinks God is testing him, where he thinks he's being punished by God, where he thinks God has failed him, where he no longer has any use for God. And that's normal. That's normal human behavior, that we look at this God, in this instance, that is outside of us. And we begin to question it. We let it go. We become angry at it. Whatever happens, it's not God that we have to let go of, but our concept of God has to be elevated. And when I talk about God concept, each of us has one. I don't care whether you don't believe there's a God, that's a concept. Whether you believe there's one God, that's a concept. Whether you believe there's multiple deities and gods, that's a concept. But let me talk about, if your God These are the criteria by which you know it's time to release your old God concept. If your God is not unconditional love, always present, never absent, one with you, extending itself through you, operating in conversation and communication with you, cheering you on, and never judgmental or something to be feared. If this is not your God concept, then it is old, it is outdated, it is time to get rid of it because it won't serve you on this journey. This God that we're talking about is calling you to think of it as bigger, expanding your understanding of it and your relationship in, through, and as it. Not just some words in a Bible verse, not just some words that we read in New Thought text. You are the living word. This word that you take in and take on, integrate in your system, is moving through you, is helping you determine what you should filter in and filter out, is guiding you. It's more than words. You are the living word. You are the extension of this love, this life force, this energy. Bigger. Bigger. And finally, as I was thinking about this message, I realized, yes, we're talking about the hero's journey. And let me take my glasses off because I'm fogging up my glasses, y'all. Woo, it's hot up in here. As I was thinking back to these chapters in Mr. Hinton's life and using the hero's journey as the vehicle by which we look at Mr. Hinton's life, I want to make sure that we're not dismissing or downplaying the severity, the life, the experience that he is currently living, or our own. We're using this hero's journey as a lens to examine, to process, to let go, and become our own heroes of our stories. So what we're doing is learning not just to give up. Because in giving up, many of us have been there, right? I've done all I can do, so I give up. What we're talking about is surrendering, letting go so that we can become bigger. Letting go of other people's opinions, letting go of our old ideas of self, letting go of this God concept. Because we all are bigger. We all are winners. And if we haven't reached the end of the story, it ain't over yet. But we will win because we're bigger. And not bigger, bigger is a comparative of the word big. We're not comparing ourselves to anybody else's experience. We're not comparing our lives to anything that we've undertaken before. We're just moving up a little higher, moving into an expanded awareness of ourselves. Challenges are not there to test us, right? God ain't testing you. God is reminding you that you're bigger. God is reminding you that these circumstances have no control over you. God is reminding you that this illness can help you see yourself differently. God is reminding you of so many things. So you got to remember. You got to forget some things to remember some things. You got to surrender and let love lead. Beyonce says, let love be the water. Well, Beyonce, yes. I pour into you, you pour into me. There ain't no drought here. There's nothing lacking in you. It makes me think about bigger as we close out today. Ever heard this phrase, go big or go home? Go big or go home. And usually what that means is either go all the way or don't go at all, right? Either you go and you win or don't even try it. But this journey that we're talking about is not one or the other. It's not extremes. The journey that we're talking about is really go bigger and go home. Go bigger and go home. Not go bigger or go home. You're not going back to what you were. You're getting bigger, rising to this excellence so that you can go home, so that you can return yourself to your right mind, as A Course in Miracles would say, so that you can awaken to the power within you, so that you can remember who you are. Right? This process of discovery, this process of the hero's journey, Mr. Hinton, if you think about home, he did not return to his physical home for 30 years. 30 years. That meant he had to discover something new. He had to get bigger. He had to discover an internal home that could not be destroyed. Not by fire, not by theft, not by bankruptcy, not by any conditions. This internal home, he had to get bigger and go home. And so as we think about this week, as we realize that we're in our own hero's journey, as we sit in whatever part of this stage, or maybe you're in an earlier or an advanced stage, as you sit in this knowing the story has not ended yet. It's been written. It's been written in your favor. You're bigger. So we surrender, which means we operate under extraordinary trust to advance to our bigger. We let go of those three things that are holding us back. And that requires us to be curious and compassionate along the way. If you feel insignificant, you better think again. Better wake up. Because you're part of something way bigger. Don't you want to know and feel and live from the bigger? And with that, enough for now.
Yes, yes. We are bigger, 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 bigger. Thank you, PY,
You're welcome.
for the powerful message. Following on the comments, I see that it met each and every one of you right where you are, right? It was the right word for the right time, in the right moment, the right series, the right minister. So we're powerful and grateful for that message. I know that some of you were having issues on Facebook. Something's going on with Facebook. I don't know. But YouTube is on and popping. So for those of you who may have missed any portion on Facebook, you can come over to YouTube. The recording will be available on both platforms. As a reminder, as we said, today is third Sunday, so it's Zoom Sunday. Zoom Sunday, God Talk Sunday. So I want to make sure that any of you that need the Zoom info, again, if you're on our mailing list, it has been emailed to you. It's been emailed to you every Friday, the information. It was also sent again today at 11 a.m. So please check your email. Please don't message us because we're not going to see them. Of course,
Right.
we've been in the midst of the stream right now, and we have a small window before we move into the God Talk. So we won't be able to address that. If you're not on our mailing list or for some reason you don't see the email, just text the word welcome to this text message, to this phone number, and you will get the prompt. You'll give your information and you'll receive the details. If you've been to the God Talk at any time over the last 3 months, the link and the password are the same. So you may already have it, right? But I just want to make sure that everybody has that info, and anyone who wants to be in the God Talk can be in the God Talk. So it is time for giving, and here at CSC, we believe and we teach the law of circulation. As I give, I receive. Yes, it's all coming right back to me. And giving and receiving is like our breath. We breathe in, we are receiving. We breathe out, we are giving. And that's how our financial giving must really happen. Now, the thing about it, we say give what feels good because we recognize that joy must be attached to your giving. And when I say joy, I'm not saying that you got to be flipping up and down and doing cartwheels in your giving,
Right.
but you have to feel good about it. If you have any kind of angst or shame or guilt or hesitation or doubt or icky feelings, the problem is that the act of giving is then fueled by those emotions, those thoughts, and then that's what you're actually placing in the ground. And so then that is unfortunately the plant or the tree that you will then be cultivating. And so it's important that the amount, whatever it is, $100, $5, $50, $1,000, doesn't matter the amount, it must be connected to the vibration of good, to the vibration of joy. And when you sow that seed, you will experience the manifestation and the reflection of that in your life. So if you would like to give to CSC, we appreciate your giving. We appreciate your consistent giving and all of the ways that CSC continues to be supported. And there's some wonderful things that we're going to be doing as it relates to, because as an organization, we also tithe. And as we're in the midst of this service, we're going to be talking about something related to the Equal Justice Initiative. But if you would like to give, then just go to the website, celebrationsc.org/give. And there in the giving section, you can give what amount feels good. If you would like to text to give, which is personally my favorite way to give, you can text the number 347-744-9500. There's a $10 minimum to give. Also, we know that many of you have set up recurring donations. Again, that's something that I have done, and that's something that you can do as well. And actually, we'll share in the coming weeks. There's some actually awesome reasons why setting up recurring donations can actually benefit CSC even more, and we'll be able to do some things in the future related to that. But more than anything, we simply appreciate your giving. We appreciate your support. And we, again, just operate in this knowingness. It's about give what feels good. We don't do the shame and blame game because it doesn't work.
It doesn't work.
Right? It doesn't work metaphysically, right? Unfortunately, it works. Like there's some churches
people,
out
yeah.
here shaming folk and they're giving, but spiritually and metaphysically, it doesn't work, right? And we're interested in what works based on law and principle, right? So with that said, I think we're complete for this Sunday service. We'll come back next week in the next chapters, 9 through 12.
Yep.
And looking forward to sharing some powerful things next Sunday. We look forward to seeing many of you at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time in the God Talk. And the God Talk is private. It's not recorded. It's not streamed. So I will just put this on the screen again for the last time. One, if you're on the mailing list, check your emails.
Yep.
Check your spam. Check your junk.
And
Whatever.
Yep.
Right.
And if you've attended God Talk in any of the previous, since we've been here during the pause, it's the same information, same ID, same password.
Absolutely. And if you don't have any of that information, text welcome. Just the word welcome, no signature, no hello, no emojis to this phone number, right? And you'll be guided through getting that information. We love you all. For those that we don't see in the God Talk, we look forward to seeing you live and alive next Sunday, and knowing that all is absolutely well with you and your family.
Love you all, and bye for now.
Bye for now.